I should have known something was wrong when Patricia walked into my birthday party carrying a black cake box with that twisted smile on her face. But honestly, after 3 years of marriage to her son Derek, I thought I had seen the worst of what my mother-in-law could do to me. I was so wrong. The living room was packed with Derek's friends and family members. Patricia had insisted on planning my 29th birthday party, which should have been my first red flag. She never did anything nice for me without having some cruel plan behind it. But Derek was so excited about the surprise party that I didn't want to ruin it for him. "Happy birthday, dear Sophia," Patricia announced loudly, making sure everyone in the room was watching. Her voice had that fake sweetness that always made my skin crawl. "I brought you a very special cake." Derek immediately pulled out his phone and started recording. "This is going to be so good," he whispered to his friend Tommy, who was standing next to him. "Mom spent all week working on this surprise." I felt my stomach drop. Derek had been acting strange for months now. He used to defend me when his mother made her nasty comments, but lately he just stood there and let her say whatever she wanted. Sometimes he even agreed with her. It was like he was becoming a completely different person. Patricia set the black box down on the coffee table in front of me. Everyone gathered around, their phones out and ready to capture my reaction. I could see the excitement in their faces. They were all waiting for something to happen. "Go ahead, sweetie," Patricia said, her eyes gleaming with something that looked almost like hunger. "Open it." My hands were shaking as I lifted the lid of the box. Inside was a chocolate cake covered in black frosting. But it wasn't the color that made my blood run cold. It was the words written across the top in white icing, "Rip to your marriage." The room went completely silent. I could hear Derek's phone still recording, capturing every second of what Patricia thought would be my breakdown. Everyone was staring at me, waiting to see me cry or scream or run out of the room in tears. But I didn't do any of those things. Instead, I started clapping. The sound of my hands coming together echoed through the silent room like gunshots. I clapped slowly, deliberately, with a smile spreading across my face that I knew must have looked terrifying. "Perfect timing," I said, my voice calm and clear so everyone could hear me. "His real funeral is next." The effect was immediate and devastating. Patricia's face went from smug satisfaction to pure white terror in less than a second. Her mouth fell open, and she took a step backward like I had just slapped her. Derek stopped recording. His phone dropped to his side as he stared at me with confusion and growing anger. "Sophia, what the hell are you talking about?" But I wasn't looking at Derek. I was staring directly at Patricia, watching as the realization slowly dawned on her face. She knew exactly what I meant. She knew that I knew. "What did you just say?" Patricia whispered, her voice barely audible. The room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Derek's friends were looking back and forth between me and Patricia like they were watching a tennis match. Nobody understood what was happening, but they could all feel the tension crackling in the air like electricity before a storm. I stood up slowly, still smiling that same cold smile. Patricia's eyes followed my every movement like she was watching a dangerous animal that might attack at any moment. "I said his real funeral is next," I repeated, louder this time so everyone could hear. "You have no idea what I mean, do you, Patricia?" She was shaking now. Actually shaking. This woman who had spent months tormenting me, who had made my life miserable with her constant attacks and cruel comments, was trembling like a leaf in front of everyone. "Sophia, you're scaring me," Derek said, his voice tight with confusion and anger. "What are you talking about? Whose funeral?" I looked at my husband, this man I had loved for 3 years, who had been slowly turning against me thanks to his mother's poison. He had no idea what was coming. None of them did. "Oh, Derek," I said softly, my voice filled with a sadness that surprised even me. "You really don't know, do you? You have no idea what your mother has been doing." Patricia made a small choking sound. She was backing toward the door now, her eyes wide with panic. I walked over to the kitchen, leaving behind a room full of confused, frightened people and one terrified mother-in-law who finally understood that her game was over. The real party was just about to begin. 6 months ago, my marriage was actually happy. I know that sounds impossible after what you just witnessed, but Derek used to be the man I fell in love with. He would bring me coffee in bed every morning, hold my hand during movies, and tell his mother to back off when she made her snide comments about my cooking or my clothes. That all changed on a Tuesday in February. I remember the exact day because it was the first time Derek came home from his mother's house and looked at me like I was a stranger. Patricia had called him that morning crying about some made-up emergency with her car. Derek rushed over to help her like he always did. But when he came back 3 hours later, something was different. "We need to talk," he said, not even kissing me hello like he usually did. I was sitting at my computer, working on a logo design for a local bakery. "What's wrong? Is your mom okay?" Derek sat down across from me, his face serious in a way I had never seen before. "Mom told me something today that really bothered me." My stomach clenched. Patricia was always telling Derek things that bothered him, but he had never taken her seriously before. "What did she say?" "She said you've been asking her questions about my dad's life insurance money, about how much I inherited when he died." I stared at him in complete shock. "Derek, I have never asked your mother about money. Not once. Why would I do that?" But even as I said it, I could see he didn't believe me. There was doubt in his eyes that had never been there before. "She seemed really upset about it," Derek continued. "She said you cornered her at the grocery store last week and kept asking personal questions about our family finances." "I wasn't even at the grocery store last week," I said, my voice getting higher with frustration. "I was here working on the Henderson project all week. You can check my computer if you want." Derek looked uncomfortable, like he wanted to believe me but couldn't quite manage it. "Maybe she misunderstood what you were asking about." That should have been the end of it. The old Derek would have realized his mother was lying and apologized for even bringing it up. But this new Derek just nodded and changed the subject, like the matter was settled. Over the next few weeks, Patricia's visits became more frequent. She would show up when I was out running errands or meeting with clients. I would come home to find her and Derek having serious conversations that would stop the moment I walked in the room. "What were you two talking about?" I would ask. "Just family stuff," Derek would say, not meeting my eyes. Patricia started bringing Derek old photo albums and letters from his father. She would sit with him for hours, talking about how much his dad had loved him and how proud he would be of the successful business Derek had built. But somehow, these conversations always ended with Derek looking at me suspiciously. "Mom was telling me about how Dad always said I should be careful about people who might try to take advantage of my success," Derek said one night as we were getting ready for bed. "That's good advice," I agreed, not understanding where this was going. "She said Dad warned her that some women only marry men for their money." I felt like he had punched me in the stomach. "Derek, you know that's not why I married you. We were broke when we got married. You were still paying off student loans." "I know," he said quickly. "I'm not saying that's why you married me. I'm just saying Dad was smart about these things." But the damage was done. Patricia had planted a seed of doubt, and it was growing bigger every day. The worst part was watching Derek change right in front of my eyes. He started questioning everything I did. When I bought new clothes, he asked how much they cost. When I went out with friends, he wanted to know exactly where I was going and who I would be with. He even started hiding his bank statements from me. "I think we should keep our finances separate from now on," he announced one day in March. "Why?" I asked, genuinely confused. "We've always shared everything." "It's just better this way," he said, "more independent." But I knew the real reason. Patricia had convinced him that I was after his money. She had taken my loving, trusting husband and turned him into a suspicious stranger who looked at me like I was some kind of gold digger. The man who used to tell me he loved me every morning now barely spoke to me at breakfast. The man who used to plan romantic surprises was now planning my birthday party with his mother, probably hoping to catch me doing something wrong. I had no idea how much worse it was about to get. By April, Derek had become a complete stranger living in my house. He would come home from work, eat dinner in silence, and spend the rest of the evening on his phone or laptop. When I tried to start conversations, he would give me one-word answers and act like I was bothering him. But it was the money that made me realize something was seriously wrong. I discovered it by accident on a Thursday morning while Derek was in the shower. His laptop was open on the kitchen table, and I saw our joint bank account displayed on the screen. I wasn't trying to snoop, but the numbers caught my eye because they looked wrong. Very wrong. According to the screen, we had $12,000 less than we should have had. I blinked and looked again, thinking I had misread something. But no, there it was in black and white. Large chunks of money had been transferred out of our account over the past 2 months. My hands were shaking as I scrolled through the transaction history. $3,000 transferred on March 15th, another $4,000 on March 28th, $5,000 just last week. All of the transfers were going to an account I didn't recognize. "What are you doing?" I jumped and spun around. Derek was standing in the doorway, his hair still wet from the shower, staring at me with an expression I had never seen before. He looked angry and suspicious, like he had caught me stealing something. "Derek, there's money missing from our account," I said, pointing at the laptop screen. "Look at these transfers. Where is this money going?" Instead of looking concerned or confused like I expected, Derek's face got even darker. He walked over and slammed the laptop shut. "You have no right to look at my financial information," he said coldly. "Your financial information?" I stared at him in disbelief. "Derek, it's our joint account. My name is on it too. I have every right to know where our money is going." "It's my money," he said, his voice getting louder. "I earned it. I put it in that account. Just because your name is on it doesn't mean you get to question how I spend it." I felt like I was talking to a complete stranger. The Derek I married would never speak to me like this. He would never hide money from me or act like I was some kind of criminal for asking about our finances. "I'm not questioning how you spend money," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "I'm asking where $12,000 went because I don't recognize these account numbers." Derek picked up his laptop and held it against his chest like he was protecting it from me. "Maybe if you weren't so obsessed with money all the time, we wouldn't have these problems." Obsessed with money? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Derek, I work 60 hours a week. I pay half of our bills. I've never asked you for anything. How am I obsessed with money?" "My mother warned me this would happen," he said, shaking his head like he was disappointed in me. "She said once women get comfortable in a marriage, they start thinking they're entitled to everything their husband has." There it was again. Patricia. Everything came back to Patricia and her poison words. "Your mother is lying to you," I said desperately. "Derek, can't you see what she's doing? She's trying to turn you against me." "Don't talk about my mother like that," Derek snapped. "She's the only person who's ever been honest with me about what kind of person you really are." I felt tears starting to burn behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. "What kind of person am I, Derek? Tell me, what has she convinced you that I am?" Derek looked at me for a long moment, and I saw something in his eyes that broke my heart. He looked at me like he didn't love me anymore, like he didn't even like me. The kind of person who marries someone for their money and then acts innocent when they get caught, he said quietly. The words hit me like a physical blow. I actually took a step backward, my hand going to my chest like I could somehow stop the pain. "I can't believe you just said that to me," I whispered. Derek didn't apologize. He didn't take it back. He just stood there holding his laptop, looking at me like I was exactly what his mother had told him I was. That night, I lay in bed next to my husband and realized I was completely alone. The man sleeping next to me thought I was a gold digger and a liar. He was hiding money from me and treating me like an enemy. But I was about to find out that the missing money was just the beginning. Patricia's plan was much bigger and much more dangerous than I could have ever imagined. After Derek accused me of being a gold digger, I knew I had to find out what was really happening to our money. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and couldn't focus on my work. Every time I looked at my husband, I saw a stranger who had been programmed to hate me, so I did something I never thought I would do. I hired a private detective. I found Investigator Chen through an online search for financial fraud specialists. Her office was in a small building downtown, and when I walked in, I felt like I was betraying my marriage just by being there. But I had to know the truth. "Mrs. Rodriguez," she said, shaking my hand with a firm grip. "Tell me what's going on." I explained everything. The missing money, Derek's sudden change in behavior, Patricia's constant visits and poisonous comments. As I talked, Investigator Chen took notes and nodded like she had heard this story before. "How much money are we talking about?" she asked. "At least $12,000 that I know of. But Derek won't let me see the full account statements anymore. There could be more." Investigator Chen leaned back in her chair. "In my experience, when family members start isolating someone from financial information, it's usually because they're hiding something big. The question is whether your husband is involved or if he's being manipulated." "He's being manipulated," I said immediately. "Derek would never steal from me, but his mother—" I trailed off, not sure how to explain Patricia's level of manipulation. "Tell me about the mother-in-law." I spent the next hour describing Patricia's behavior over the past 6 months. How she had slowly poisoned Derek against me, how she always seemed to have emergencies that required Derek's immediate attention, how she had convinced him that I was only interested in his money. "Has she ever asked for money directly?" Investigator Chen asked. "Not that I know of, but she's always talking about how expensive things are, how hard it is to live on a fixed income. Derek feels guilty because his father left him money but didn't leave much for Patricia." Investigator Chen nodded. "Classic manipulation. She makes him feel guilty, then provides a solution that benefits her. What kind of access does she have to your husband's accounts?" "I don't know," I admitted. "But Derek trusts her completely. If she asked him to sign something, he would do it without question." "We need to find out where that money went," Investigator Chen said. "I'll need you to get me account numbers, bank statements, anything you can access. Can you do that?" I hesitated. It felt wrong to spy on my own husband. But then I remembered the way Derek had looked at me when he called me a gold digger, and I nodded. "Good. I'll also run a background check on your mother-in-law. Sometimes people aren't who they pretend to be." Over the next 2 weeks, I became a spy in my own home. When Derek was in the shower, I would quickly photograph bank statements. When he left his laptop open, I would memorize account numbers. I felt sick doing it, but I had to know what was happening to our marriage. The breakthrough came on a Tuesday afternoon. Investigator Chen called me while I was working on a client project. "Sophia, you need to sit down," she said, her voice serious. "What did you find?" "Your mother-in-law has been very busy. She's opened 3 new bank accounts in the past 4 months. All of them have received transfers from your husband's accounts." My heart started pounding. "How much money?" "So far, I've traced $47,000, but there's more. She's also taken out a loan using your husband's business as collateral. And Sophia, she bought a house." "A house?" I couldn't breathe. "What house?" "A $200,000 house in Riverside. She paid cash. The deed is in her name only." I felt like the room was spinning. Patricia had stolen enough money from Derek to buy a house, and he had no idea. She had been systematically draining his accounts while convincing him that I was the one who couldn't be trusted with money. "There's something else," Investigator Chen continued. "I found records of meetings between your mother-in-law and a lawyer named Attorney Williams. They've been working together for months." "Working on what?" "I'm still investigating, but it looks like they're preparing legal documents. Power of attorney forms, will changes, business transfer papers. Sophia, I think she's planning to take everything." I hung up the phone and sat in my empty house, staring at the walls that might not be mine much longer. Patricia wasn't just trying to destroy my marriage. She was trying to steal Derek's entire inheritance, his business, everything his father had left him. And she was using Derek's love for her to do it. The worst part was that Derek would never believe me if I told him. In his mind, I was the greedy one. I was the threat to his family. But I had proof now, and I was going to use it. The evidence from Investigator Chen sat in a manila folder on my desk like a bomb waiting to explode. Bank records, property deeds, loan documents, photographs of Patricia's secret house. Everything I needed to prove what she had been doing to Derek. But every time I tried to show him, Patricia would appear with another crisis or another lie about me. It was like she had a sixth sense for when I was getting close to the truth. "Derek, we really need to talk," I said one evening in late May. He was sitting on the couch, scrolling through his phone, barely acknowledging my existence. "About what?" he asked without looking up. "About us. About our marriage. About what's been happening." Finally, he looked at me, but his expression was cold and distant. "What about our marriage, Sophia? You mean how you've been acting paranoid and controlling for months? How you keep questioning everything I do?" I felt that familiar stab of pain in my chest. This wasn't my husband talking. This was Patricia's voice coming out of Derek's mouth. "I've been trying to protect you," I said quietly. "There are things you don't know. Things I need to show you." Derek's phone buzzed with a text message. He glanced at it and immediately stood up. "Mom needs me. Her kitchen sink is flooding. Derek, please. Just give me 5 minutes. Look at these documents." But he was already grabbing his keys. "Whatever it is can wait. My mother needs help." He left me standing there with the folder in my hands, watching him rush off to rescue Patricia from another convenient emergency. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the folder at the wall and give up on everything. Instead, I called Investigator Chen. "She's escalating," I told her. "Every time I try to talk to Derek, Patricia creates some crisis that pulls him away." "That's not surprising," Chen said. "She knows you're getting close to exposing her. Desperate people do desperate things." "What do you mean?" "I've been watching her movements. She's been meeting with Attorney Williams almost daily. And Sophia, I found something else. She's been researching divorce lawyers." My blood ran cold. Divorce lawyers? Not for herself, for Derek. She's been asking questions about how to protect assets during a divorce, how to prove financial misconduct by a spouse. She's building a case against you. I sank into a chair, feeling like the world was crashing down around me. She's going to convince Derek to divorce me. It looks that way. And if she succeeds, she'll have complete control over his finances. No wife to question her, no one to protect him from her manipulation. That night, Derek came home at almost midnight. I was waiting for him in the living room, the folder of evidence on the coffee table between us. "We need to talk," I said firmly. "Right now." Derek looked exhausted and annoyed. "Sophia, it's late. Can't this wait until tomorrow?" "No, it can't wait. Derek, your mother is stealing from you." The change in his expression was immediate and frightening. His face went from tired to furious in seconds. "How dare you?" he said, his voice low and dangerous. "How dare you accuse my mother of stealing?" "Look at the evidence," I said, opening the folder. "Bank records, property deeds, loan documents. She's taken almost $50,000 from your accounts and bought herself a house." Derek didn't even glance at the papers. "You're sick, Sophia. You're actually sick. My mother would never steal from me." "Then explain where the money went," I said desperately. "Explain the house in Riverside. Explain the meetings with Attorney Williams." Derek stared at me like I was a stranger. "You've been spying on my mother? You hired someone to investigate my family?" "I hired someone to find out where our money was going because you wouldn't tell me." "It's not our money," Derek said coldly. "It's my money, my inheritance, my business. And I'm tired of you acting like you have any right to it." He walked toward the stairs, dismissing me completely, but then he stopped and turned back. "You know what? You're right. We do need to talk. Tomorrow, I'm calling a lawyer." My heart stopped. Derek, what are you saying? I'm saying I want a divorce, Sophia. I can't live like this anymore. I can't be married to someone who hates my family and tries to turn me against the people who love me. He went upstairs, leaving me alone with the evidence that could save our marriage if he would just look at it. But Derek was so deep under Patricia's spell that he couldn't see the truth even when it was right in front of him. I sat there until dawn, holding the folder and watching my marriage die. In a few hours, Derek would call a divorce lawyer, just like Patricia had planned. But I wasn't going to let her win. Not without a fight. The next morning, Derek was gone before I woke up. He left a note on the kitchen counter that made my blood run cold. Meeting with lawyer at 2 p.m. We'll talk tonight. I stared at those words until they blurred together. Patricia had won. She had successfully convinced Derek to divorce me, and by tonight our marriage would be over. But as I sat there in my empty kitchen, something inside me snapped. I wasn't going to let her destroy my life without exposing what she really was. That's when my phone rang. Sophia, dear. Patricia's voice was sickeningly sweet. I hope you don't mind, but I've planned a little birthday party for you this weekend. Just family and close friends. I almost laughed at the irony. Patricia was planning my birthday party on the same weekend Derek was planning to divorce me. That's very thoughtful of you, Patricia. Oh, it's my pleasure. Derek is so excited about it. He's been helping me plan everything. We want to make it very special for you. The way she said special made my skin crawl. I could hear the satisfaction in her voice. She thought she had already won. I can't wait, I said, matching her fake sweetness. I'm sure it will be unforgettable. After I hung up, I called Investigator Chen. Patricia is throwing me a birthday party this Saturday. I think she's planning to humiliate me in front of everyone. That makes sense, Chen said. If Derek is filing for divorce, she'll want witnesses to your bad behavior to support his case. What are you going to do? I'm going to give her exactly what she wants, I said. A show she'll never forget. I spent the next 3 days preparing. I made copies of all the evidence, bank records, property deeds, photographs of Patricia's secret house, records of her meetings with Attorney Williams. I organized everything into neat folders, one for each person who would be at the party. I also did something else. I called Derek's best friend Tommy and his sister Lisa, people who had known Derek since childhood and genuinely cared about him. I told them I had important information about Derek's finances that they needed to see. Sophia, what's going on? Lisa asked when I met her for coffee on Friday. I showed her the evidence, all of it. Lisa's face went white as she looked through the bank records and property documents. Oh my God, she whispered. Patricia has been stealing from Derek? For months, I said. And she's convinced him that I'm the one who can't be trusted with money. We have to tell him, Lisa said immediately. I've tried. He won't listen to me. Patricia has him completely under her control. But maybe if it comes from you and Tommy. Lisa nodded grimly. We'll be at the party tomorrow, and we'll make sure Derek sees this. Saturday arrived like a storm cloud. I got dressed carefully, choosing a simple blue dress that made me look innocent and trustworthy. I did my makeup perfectly and styled my hair. If Patricia wanted to put on a show, I was going to look like the wronged wife, not the villain she had painted me as. When I arrived at our house, it was already full of people. Derek's friends, his co-workers, some neighbors, and of course, Patricia holding court in the center of it all. She was wearing a black dress that should have been my first clue about what was coming. There's the birthday girl, Patricia announced when she saw me. Everyone turned to look, and I could see the anticipation in their faces. They were all waiting for something to happen. Derek was standing near the window with his phone in his hand, ready to record whatever Patricia had planned. He looked at me with that same cold expression he had been wearing for months. Happy birthday, sweetheart, Patricia said, walking toward me with a black cake box in her hands. I made you something very special. As she set the box down on the coffee table, I saw Tommy and Lisa exchange glances. They were ready. The evidence was ready, and I was ready to watch Patricia's world come crashing down. "Go ahead, dear," Patricia said, her eyes gleaming with malicious joy. "Open your present." This was it. The moment Patricia thought she would destroy me was about to become the moment I destroyed her instead. The silence after my words about Derek's real funeral stretched on forever. Patricia was backing toward the door, her face completely white, while Derek stared at me like I had lost my mind. "Sophia, what the hell are you talking about?" Derek demanded, his phone still hanging at his side. "Whose funeral?" I looked around the room at all the confused faces. Tommy and Lisa were watching me carefully, ready to support whatever I was about to do. Everyone else just looked terrified. "I'm talking about the funeral of your financial future, Derek," I said calmly. "The funeral of your inheritance, your business, everything your father left you. Patricia has been killing it slowly for months." "You're insane," Patricia whispered, but her voice was shaking. "Am I?" I walked over to the side table where I had hidden the folders earlier. "Let me show everyone just how insane I am." I picked up the first folder and opened it. Bank records showing $47,000 transferred from Derek's accounts to accounts controlled by Patricia. Derek's face went from angry to confused. "What are you talking about?" I pulled out the property deed and held it up for everyone to see. The deed to a $200,000 house in Riverside that Patricia bought with Derek's money, a house she never told him about. "That's impossible," Derek said, but I could hear doubt creeping into his voice. "Is it?" I looked directly at Patricia, who was now pressed against the wall like a trapped animal. "Tell him about the house, Patricia. Tell him about Attorney Williams. Tell him about the power of attorney documents you've been preparing." "I don't know what you're talking about," Patricia said, but her voice was barely a whisper. Tommy stepped forward. "Derek, man, you need to look at this stuff. Sophia showed me and Lisa yesterday. It's all real." Lisa nodded, pulling out her own copy of the evidence. "Derek, your mother has been stealing from you. Look at these bank statements. Look at the dates." Derek took the papers from his sister with shaking hands. As he read through them, I watched his face change from confusion to shock to devastating realization. "Mom," he said quietly, looking up at Patricia. "What is this? Why are there transfers to accounts I don't recognize?" Patricia's mask was finally slipping. The sweet, concerned mother act was crumbling, and underneath was something ugly and desperate. "Derek, honey, you don't understand," she said, her voice getting higher and more panicked. "I was protecting that money. Sophia was trying to get access to your accounts. I had to move it somewhere safe." "By buying yourself a house?" Derek's voice was getting louder. "By forging my signature on loan documents." I held up a recording device. "This is a conversation between Patricia and Attorney Williams from last week." Patricia's voice filled the room, clear as day. "Once Derek signs the divorce papers, I'll have complete control. The power of attorney documents will give me access to everything. The business, the inheritance, all of it. That little gold digger will get nothing." The room erupted. Derek dropped the papers and stared at his mother in complete shock. "Mom," Derek said, his voice broken. "How could you do this to me?" Patricia looked around the room at all the angry, disgusted faces staring at her. "Derek, I can explain," she started, but he held up his hand. "Get out," he said quietly. "Get out of my house and don't come back." As Patricia fled through the front door, Derek turned to me with tears in his eyes. "Sophia, I'm so sorry. I almost lost everything because I couldn't see what she was doing to us. I looked at my husband, this man who had called me a gold digger and accused me of being obsessed with money. This man who had believed his mother's lies over my truth for months. This man who had been ready to divorce me just hours ago. "You're sorry?" I said quietly. "Derek, you spent 6 months treating me like I was your enemy. You hid money from me, accused me of terrible things, and planned to divorce me. All because your mother told you to." But I know the truth now, Derek said desperately. I know she was lying about everything. The truth is that you chose to believe her lies over trusting your wife, I said, my voice getting stronger. The truth is that you were ready to throw away our marriage without even listening to me. Derek reached for my hand, but I pulled away. Sophia, please. We can fix this. We can go back to how things were. I shook my head sadly. No, Derek. We can't. Because now I know who you really are when things get difficult. I know that you'll choose your mother over me every time. I know that you don't trust me enough to believe me when I tell you the truth. That's not fair, Derek said, his voice breaking. What's not fair is that I had to hire a private detective to prove my innocence to my own husband, I said. What's not fair is that you were ready to divorce me based on lies. I walked toward the door, stepping around the forgotten funeral cake on the coffee table. Where are you going? Derek asked. I'm leaving, I said simply. Patricia wanted to end our marriage, and she succeeded, just not the way she planned. Sophia, wait. Please don't do this. I turned back one last time to look at the man I had loved for 3 years. You know what the saddest part is, Derek? Your mother didn't destroy our marriage. You did. She just gave you the excuse. I walked out the door, leaving Derek standing in a room full of people who now knew the truth about his mother. But it was too late for the truth to save us. Patricia's funeral cake had been right after all. Our marriage was dead, and this time, I was the one burying it.